That's fine. And what about the rest of your family? Where are they? In Lancashire as well, Deed?
Well, our two daughters are teachers, working very hard,
Teachers.
like everybody else, of course.
Brilliant. Have a lovely Christmas, Deed. Well done. And Sonia, I don't know, sometimes I hear these calls and I think we're a more compliant nation than we sometimes give ourselves credit for.
I think that's right, actually, and I think if you look all the way through this pandemic, there have always been those photos that people have been able to point to of people breaking the rules, but often that is the exception, not the norm. I think the British public have been incredibly responsible throughout this. They've followed the rules, they've done their bit. I think the issue comes when actually people feel like, first of all, there were really confusing messages from the government, like when, you know, the Prime Minister's former top advisor, Dominic Cummings, broke the spirit of lockdown rules and faced no consequences for it. So I think that's a bit of an issue when there are confusing messages. And also when the government, you know, over that summer period when it was quieter in terms of the virus, the government didn't build that track and trace system that we needed to kind of hold off a second wave for as long as possible. But I think the British public have actually done a brilliant job, and I agree with Carol. The people calling in are really, you know, concerned about the rules, and they're concerned about keeping their relatives safe.
Yeah, it's Storm.
Well, we're going to speak to Sharon now from Essex, who just thinks it's not worth the gamble.
Well, we've got people saying that, Sharon. What are you worried about?
Well, basically, I lost my husband last Sunday. He had an illness that lasted 2 years, which meant he spent this year shielding. So he hasn't seen his family really all of this year. When he passed, he wasn't allowed to have myself, his son and daughter at his bedside. It could only be one person. Yet, now, a month later, those same people can all sit around the table and eat turkey.
Yeah, well, I agree.
It doesn't actually go in my head.
That does sound bonkers, the way you put it. And of course, you've now got the funeral to arrange with all the restrictions there as well.
Well, we're actually not. He's having a very private family, just very close family, and we're having a celebration of his life next year when everybody can be there, which is what he would have loved.
You said he was ill for 2 years. Was COVID he didn't catch COVID at the end?
No, he didn't. He died. He had cancer.
Okay.
But because of that, this year he had to isolate and didn't see much of his family all this year, which was very sad for him. And for his children and grandchildren who didn't have the chance to spend a lot of time with him.
Well, Sharon, you raised a good point, and Sarah, I guess there will be, and we've heard the voice of the person on stage saying, this isn't worth it. This is just being done because people aren't able to put Christmas off.
Sharon, I can't tell you how much I feel for you. Of course, I recognise how difficult it was for you and for the family. And of course, at the start of lockdown, we didn't know as much about it. Now, you could have had somebody bubbling with you, you could have seen somebody, and I do think, I agree with everything Sonia said, we should have got test and trace up so that you could have tested negative and gone in and more of your family could have been with him at the end. It's a lesson that we will have to live with, but bless you.
Carol,
I know it's tough.
Thank you, Sharon. Bless you. Carol, is this one where the politicians have basically said, we can't send the police into people's houses on the 25th, so we're going to just have to say, have a Christmas?
Yes, well, I think people, you know, we've talked about how people have been very good in this country, they've largely stuck to the rules, and I think if the government hadn't done this, they would have had some form of Christmas, some limited form of Christmas anyway. You know, we've already heard in the papers today that Boris has said there will be a light hand over Christmas. Cops aren't going to be charging people's homes, which is a story that we were hearing a couple of weeks ago, that they would go into people's houses on Christmas Day if they thought they were breaking the rules. I think we just have to,
so far has been out of sync. So what I've actually done now, I've changed the frames per second to 30 to match up with the Yola box, just to see if that works. I don't think it's going to, but we can only hope. Thank you, guys. Hi, guys. Just a quickie test now. It's not going to be, nobody's going to see this. I'm just making a small video to put on the SD card to play in the Yola box, because everything I've put in there so far has been out of sync. So what I've actually done now, I've changed the frames per second to 30 to match up with the Yolla box, just to see if that works. I don't think it's going to, but we can only hope. Thank you guys. Hi guys. Just a quickie test now. It's not going to be, nobody's going to see this. I'm just making a small video to put on the SD card to play in the Yolla box, because everything I've put in there so far has been out of sync. So what I've actually done now, I've changed the frames per second to 30 to match up with the Yolla box, just to see if that works. I don't think it's going to.